Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Omar Fareed Khan podcast. Today, I'm joined by my friend Hasan. Hasan, thanks so much for being here.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Dude, who could have ever predicted we'd be doing this now?
Uh,
Because when we originally intended to do this, it was like December 2022.
yeah, some time ago.
So, yeah, but I love moments like these because they're it's a constant reminder that the right things happen at the right time, and you can
Yeah,
never predict when that is.
yep. And not forcing that too, because I think you've given me great grace with it, and likewise, and with the divine timing of us having these conversations, and even in the short spurts that we have, grace each other's path. Uh, it's been like mild microdosing of a podcast, always very colorful conversation. So I'm very appreciative and thankful that we took our time and finally coming together.
Yeah, that's really cool that you say that because what I was thinking about when you mentioned it is kind of like watering a plant,
Yeah.
and then like little by little it grows.
Yeah.
And I think about that with all the people that I meet.
Yeah.
It's like the conversations that those little spurs in real life. It's just like a buildup, and then like the connection, the relationship, it just gets stronger as time goes on.
Yeah. No, that's so real. I think a lot of those relationships, especially that I sparked on campus and I had have been fruitful within their, whether it's short spurts or grand spurts. So that open-mindedness is something that I try to keep too, that you speak about, uh, paralleling the plant as well.
Yeah. Your style, for as long as I've known you, has been pretty cool. It's been pretty unique. Right now, it's kind of given me a little bit of Spike Lee.
Thanks.
But who would you say has inspired you the most stylistically?
I think I'm influenced by uh, a lot, and it always changes over time. A lot of it's tied to the music I listen to. At this moment, I'd probably say Lenny Kravitz is my number one, uh, like my biggest influence as far as my style. Uh, yeah, I think that's my number one right now. It always fluctuates. Uh, Lenny Kravitz, and I think I just say me being in Texas too. I'm big on Western wear. I'm big on boots. I'm big on big belt buckles, uh, boot cut jeans, flared jeans. Uh, so my environment is, I'm very heavily influenced, it being that I'm in Texas now. I've been in Texas for a couple years, so taking that all in and soaking up the culture like a sponge has translated to my wear. But I say Lenny Kravitz is my biggest uh, inspiration, and where he's embraced a fluidity uh, and a mild androgyny that I mirror and parallel within my style and try to let trickle down into my expression, whether that's fashion or another medium of art and things of that nature. But at the moment, all I can say is Lenny Kravitz, but it's truly an amalgamation of many different things, from music to other artists to family members and yada yada yada.
And how much of it would you say is originally you?
Well, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there is. Let me word myself correctly. I think originality comes from amalgamation and mix of other influences. So, like, yeah, I'm originally me and authentically me, but I'm only a mix of those before me and of what I see, and like mild mimicry. And eventually, somebody, maybe now, maybe later, will take a part of me and I'll become a part of their amalgamation and their mix, and their expression as well. So I can't say anything that I do uh, or have done has been truly original. I don't know if I really believe in things being original. I think it all is a mix of something and many things. So it's me at the end of the day, but it's so much else. Um, I try to I'm still finding my balance with that at the moment, and making sure not my expression, but my desires are not mimetic. Um, but as
What
far as
does that mean?
uh, the things that I want and desire uh, in my life, whether that's material or romance or just anything in all facets of life, are not uh, mimetic or mirroring that of what I see, which
Mm.
is, it could be, some could argue it could be nearly impossible, but I think you could fine tune that or like, minimize or magnify to your own discretion. Me personally, uh, working on minimizing it. So then I can then question how much of my expression or me or my desire is really mine, and really see what output I get from that, which is I think has been something transpiring for the last, or a journey that I've been on for the last couple of years.
That is a very fascinating perspective. You mentioned belt buckle before, and yesterday I noticed a girl's belt buckle and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And it's little things like that that really it, I it makes the style, it makes the fashion even more interesting.
Yeah,
I always tell people like, hey, you got to make sure you have cool sunglasses because that's a big deal. It
yeah,
makes the style, makes the fashion more cool, just in my
yeah,
eyes.
yeah,
But something that I always seem to feel like is a staple of my fashion or like the jewelry that I wear. A
yeah.
lot of it is inspired by mythology or faith or history or something that I think is just really cool like that. Is there a part of your fashion that's like a staple of it and it's something small, like a belt buckle or a ring or sunglasses?
I think my biggest thing would probably be uh my glasses, accessories. I'm a big fan of shoes and boots. And then I do a lot as far as scarves and things and wraps. Whether that be around my head, around my waist, around my neck, as a belt. So accessories and then my boots, I think, are the staples of my fashion character at the moment. And I think I've
Mm.
cultivated that for the last uh couple years, like trying to, I don't know, treat fashion as a couple things. Firstly, like as a expression of self, but also as like a healing of my inner child. I think, no, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna affirm this. I know now I am who I wanted to be as a teenager. Um, I'm dressing the way that I want to be as a teenager. I am I am walking in the career path that I wanted to as a teenager, as a child. I'm enjoying myself in that and in those manners, and not too rooted if like I'm not too sure if I manifested it or not, but I definitely am appreciative of where I am now and very rooted in healing my childhood trauma, but at the same time doing all the things that and through that, doing all the things that I couldn't do at those times, to grant me uh the most bliss, peace, and comfort now. So a lot of this is just rooted in what I wanted as a kid and as a teenager, and who I wanted to be. Uh, so I think I'm truly living in that now, with my expression, my art, my fashion, career, all facets of life.
How
Hopefully,
does your how does your fashion heal your childhood stuff? I'm curious.
I think mainly, not that I was like really oppressed. I had a pretty nice childhood growing up. Uh, but through what I saw as a child, within my influences and my aspirations, and things that I wasn't able to have then, now having the capital and the freedoms to obtain those things, and express freely without restraint or grand restraint, because there are still things that I subscribe to that could be mildly restraining, whether that be socially or any other things. But I think giving myself things or dressing in ways that might not have been encouraged or appreciated or allowed as a child or a teenager. Not that they're necessarily lewd or explicit, but very fluid.
I think it's also very cool that you created your own fashion brand.
Thank you.
What is the story behind that? How did that come to be?
Uh, uh, I went to a school called Morehouse College in Atlanta. It's an all black, all boys school, and where I met two other people who were from St. Louis. I didn't know them prior to, uh, who were from St. Louis, and they went to the same school as well. We had met, linked up, and I was doing a lot of video work for them. They were artists. Uh, I was doing a lot of video work for them, and we are just doing a lot of collaboration. And it was at that time I started learning about like conceptually things like synchronicity uh, and cohesion and things of that nature from like Carl Jung. Um, and I start to identify the synchronicities within our and life aspects that parallel within our journey with the two others from St. Louis, even though we had such different upbringings, different socioeconomic statuses, political, religious practices, all different. So forever came from that with me learning about synchronicity and then being able to identify those moments and points of synchronicity and the parallels of our lives. From that, we had it on the me and my brother, my business partner, we had it on the back burner for some time, just because we didn't want to rush that. And I wasn't at a space to where I could produce like I want as far as that. I came up with the I came up with that. We came up with that in 2019. 2020, we kind of like started to get the ball rolling as far as ideas and things of that nature, but we didn't really know the ins and outs of production. And I'm still learning to this day. Uh, 2021, my computer's hard drive it got corrupted, my external hard drive, so I couldn't use Photoshop on my computer anymore because I didn't have enough RAM on my computer, and I ran out of my external hard drive that had got corrupted, so I couldn't plug anything into it to give myself space. So I lost all my designs that I had prior to and things of that sort. So 2022 came around, and at the beginning of the year, I started to get on the ball with contacting different manufacturers or designers um, and people in production to get that rolling. Summer 2022, I got my first samples. And then I really want to cultivate like brand meaning and having it hold some weight beyond just being eye candy, which I think my most of my work serves as eye candy, and even a shirt can as well. At the surface level it should, but it should mean something to me and to the people that wear it, or people that see people that wear it, as far as a conversation starter or something of that nature. So we got a couple different concepts and formula going for it. I wanted one sport item, uh one item to deal with synchronicity, and then another item to be comical. So we had the I Love Geek shirt, we had the synchronicity code shirt, uh, and then we had the Muay Thai shorts. At that time, I was doing MMA training, and I'm a big fan of combat sports. Uh, so we made the shorts as well. So I've tried to keep that formula. It's kind of shifted here and there because I've like changed a lot of my ideology, even though the brand is still rooted in synchronicity and cultural cohesion. Um, my process as far as production has changed, and trying to stay rooted in ethical production while simultaneously being intentional about the messages that I put out uh, and how I impact the world.
I love how you said that it should be a conversation starter
Yeah.
because I believe that that is so important. That's what fashion does. It is a conversation starter. I totally believe that. You've mentioned the word synchronicity a number of times now. I'm curious, what does that mean to you?
Synchronicity, I think, is a way of life. Um, I'm trying to hold it up and practice it more, not like a religion, but like a way of life, and have synchronicity parallel with serendipity, um, and happiness and gratefulness and gratitude. So acknowledging uh, that every moment in life has meaning, uh, and is interconnected, uh, in all things and moments, and uh, within my every conversation. So to give my every moment weight or meaning, at the end of the day, making sure my gratitude lens is on, uh, and also a lens of empathy and interconnectedness, even though I might not know somebody, or I might be unfamiliar with XYZ experience. Uh, so I think I'm starting to, or trying to, root myself more in the practice of synchronicity as a means of gratitude and as a lens as well.
Another reason I really like that you created your own brand is because I believe fashion is an extension of art. And David Lynch once said, people go around saying, yeah, well, it's all been said and done. And he goes, yeah, it has all been said and done, but not by you.
Yeah,
And so I think it's so cool that you went ahead and you made your own because
appreciate that.
yeah, it's you. It's
Yeah,
your expression of it.
definitely.
To anyone who is interested in creating their own brand, what do you recommend to them?
Taking your time, uh, yeah, firstly taking your time with it and really cultivating it, and then asking yourself why. Well, why do I want to make a brand? What is my intention behind this? What is the meaning behind it? I think when you ask yourself the why off rip, uh, you can chart a better path as far as efficiency on many ends, whether that's efficiency with production, in all stages of the process. Um, and then also on the ends of integrity, because some people aren't in it. And I struggle with this at times, but this was definitely a big conflict for me at the start. My artistic integrity. Uh,
What does that mean, artistic integrity?
artistic integrity. I think this goes back to the why. Uh, not my artistic integrity would be, um, not compromising my morals or my standards or my mission for something that doesn't feel aligned or in my alignment. Uh, and that's just tied to the why of you're doing something artistically. I think at this point in time, within our creative playing field, there's questions of that, uh, because there's been such a grand commodification of art, which has its pros and has its cons. For me, when first starting the brand, especially like during the pandemic, seeing so many people flourish financially from that definitely like challenged uh my pillar and my structure of artistic integrity. Like, am I willing to compromise my brand's message and mission for the dollar amount, or for a get rich quick? And it works for some. Um, but for me, um, a lot of the methods and trends and fads, optically or production wise, were just not within my alignment at that time that we saw as a community during the pandemic. And the questions still arise today, with artistic integrity and ethics as far as productions and things go, which I still find challenging within pinpointing ethical means of production, um, and things of that nature. If I answered
Mm.
your question, my answers might be mildly uh, coded, so excuse me if they are all unintentional, just where I speak.
You aren't using any filler language as far as I
Okay,
hear, and that's
perfect.
cool. I like that. I like
Thank you.
that. Is that
I
something
just
that
want
you
to make sure.
consciously try to do?
What? Not use
Not
filler?
using filler, yeah. Because it happens for me on this podcast sometimes where I'll be
Uh,
like and But I
well,
notice you're very
I'm I'm trying not to do it. Like I'm trying to be intentional about what everything I say. There is ums and likes in there, but as like I just did, to give myself a moment to really intentionally speak. I think there's good filler work like type shit is a word is a phrase that I use often, which I think type shit is the greatest phrase of all time because it can serve as filler, but in a better and more grand way, it serves as an affirmation of conversation that I'm listening to you and that I understand. And even in some moments that I don't, the type shit is a reinforcement of uh the conversation and an enabler to keep going. So I think filler can be good, like type shit can be a good filler, but I appreciate your affirmation and notice that I'm trying to be intentional with my
yeah.
words. Mm,
It's something that I'm trying to work on as well,
yeah,
you know?
definitely.
It's something I just constantly realize is we're never ever there. We're never gonna make it to the finish line. We're never gonna be perfect.
Yeah,
And Anthony Bourdain, he had a quote that resembled saying something like that. He's like, maybe it's enough to know that you're just not gonna ever be there. Maybe that's
yeah,
enlightenment enough.
yeah,
But you can keep trying. That
yeah,
process of keep trying. And
yeah,
actually, you might be able to relate to this as well as an artistic person. Sometimes the thrill is more about that constant trying of climbing up that mountain. And sometimes when you reach the top of that mountain, it's not as fun as it was climbing up to the top.
definitely. Definitely, that resonates a lot with me, and it's something I deal with all the time. Um, within my processes as an artist, I think within many of my mediums, I've hit a plateau after like a moment of grand praise and things of that nature. Um, I'm gathering my thoughts.
I
Once I've
love
hit,
that you said that there.
yeah.
That
Uh,
that's spot on.
you talk about with the plateau?
Yeah, that plateau after the grand praise, the way you
Yes,
mentioned that is
definitely.
spot on.
Definitely hit a plateau with many of my mediums that I don't feel bad about it. Like photography is my main medium, it's my baby, it's the medium I put so much into, the most time into. Uh at the moment though, I am not advancing uh within my skill within the artistry because I think at a certain point in time with all mediums, if you're not seeking out uh new methodology or new knowledge or and technical advance, whether that's actual gear or practice, I think you can do it as much as you want, but there will be no advance. So at the moment, within many of my mediums, photography being one of them, and design on the back burner, but one as well. I've plateaued within my practice. Now I can still go out and have a shoot and it'd be killer. It'd be beautiful. It'd be optically there. It'd be extremely intentional within its creation. But as far as me being better than last time, there's no guarantee but mostly a guarantee that I won't just because I'm not um, currently uh, tapping into that source of knowledge and things of that nature to advance.
I believe all artists have unfinished business that haunts them in their head.
Mhm.
Projects that You want to get out there, but you haven't gotten out there yet.
Yeah.
How do you deal with those ghosts that are always ravishing your mind?
I think creativity is like a universal library, a source energy that we tap into. Uh, and we all have access to it. And because of that, your idea, your book can be pulled at any time. Um, so me, how I deal with it, when because I sit on ideas all the time. I have so much unreleased stuff and things of that sort. Um, I see a lot of those get pulled off the shelf and put into the world before I was able to do that. And that serves as grand validation for me and as a good check, like, okay, somebody else pulled that book off the shelf and read it and put it out. Uh, so that allows me to be uh, validated or content
What do
with
you mean by that? Why does it make you validated? Don't you feel like,
like
damn, I had that idea too.
yeah, I mean there's always that at first, but it might be some mild ego stuff. It's just like I had it first, you know, or it's potentially I couldn't have had it first, but it's like, okay, that was a good idea potentially because it had been brought out by somebody else. So
Mm.
especially seeing when that idea uh has garnered traction or number or praise and things of that sort. And a lot of that ideology could be rooted in ego, whatever. So that's at least how I deal with it because there's been so many things that I've shelved in many mediums. Um, but it's also, you know, putting my blinders up too, like a racehorse, um, to like draw myself back into my own journey and process. I think this goes back to the whole aspect of mimetic desires or trying not to be that mimetic or in a state of comparison because I am like chronically on the internet. I'm heavy on the internet. So dialing back to just to be okay with my journey and to be locked in with my stride, to not be bothered by that. So I don't beat myself up or I don't feel bad about that idea being put off the shelf or me not bringing XYZ idea to life. Um, yeah, because there's always something better to come, which I'll affirm right now, and stay rooted in. And then also, my process has been validated within when I do give myself grace for things and not, uh, when I do give myself grace for things and take my time and be intentional and water my plant over time, uh, I get good harvest. And I've seen that within many of my practices. Within life period, but mainly with art. So I'm okay most of the time uh, with ideas, you know, just being ideas.
That's nice to hear. And I like
Yeah.
that part you were mentioning because somebody could release something that's similar to what you had in mind, but if you give it patience and time and come out with your version later on, it could be far better. And in
Yeah.
fact, this morning I was looking at a Tim Ferriss post, and he was sharing the progress that there's like that famous Japanese painting of the wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
He shared that the artist had been working on that painting for decades in his life, and then he showed a version when he was like 33, and it was like it sucked. And then it was one at 44, one at 55. And it wasn't until the artist was 72 that he made the famous version that we all know of that painting.
Yeah.
So yeah, some things definitely take time. And even like Ferdowsi, the Persian poet that wrote the Shahnameh, I believe it took him like almost his entire life to make it, like a good number of years. It's
Yeah.
insane. So
What's the poet again?
Ferdowsi, he wrote the Shahnameh, the Persian Book of Kings. So it's a fascinating thing. But the way I see all this when it comes to ideas, just like, you know, you haven't brought them out to the light of day yet. The
Mhm.
way I see it is it's like it's you're sitting on a treasure chest in your head
Yeah.
and the key is in your hand. And Rumi would say, hey, the key's in your hand, just like unlock the door and just walk out. But it's
Mhm.
like for some reason we don't open that chest yet. We have the
Yeah.
key, but we don't open it yet. And
Yeah.
sometimes it might be a lazy excuse to say it'll come out when it comes out, but sometimes it's just the truth. Like it has its own appointed destiny. That's when it will come out.
And also being okay for me, I'm finding new beauty and finding new beauty and making sure that my art or what my output to the world is firstly for me. I'm like I said, I'm heavy on the internet, so I get in that mode of algorithmic slavery at times, and I do. Um, but when I set an intention prior to creating and affirm that it's for me, firstly and lastly, then I think that my relationship with it is like harmonious, or even when it's not, it can return to a state of harmony.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's beautiful to look at this entire thing from the lens of art, but it's also just as wonderful to let that trickle into the rest of our lives.
yeah,
That, oh, we can be patient about other things in our lives. They'll come when they'll come around.
yeah,
We don't, and we should focus on what it means to us in a way.
exactly. Yeah, I'm finding that grace every day, and I'm grateful for this new lens. And there's no, like I think you mentioned it with the Anthony Bourdain anecdote. There is no final completion of it. And I'm finding beauty in the journey and the tidbits and experiences along the way uh, to make me okay with whatever my output is, whether that's creative or not, uh, or just the being patient with the minor things in life. I got rice cooking right now, or you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm finding that grace and that balance with it all, knowing that there is no complete balancing ever in life.
Dude, Hassan, I enjoyed this conversation. I'm
Likewise.
curious. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say but didn't get a chance to? Or something on
Uh,
your mind that you wanted to express?
I I've tried to do it throughout the call, but I'm just gratitude. Um, I, as I've been talking to you and monitoring my words, I'm trying to make sure a majority of it is positive and like speaking in like a affirmative tongue to make sure that my practice post the call uh, is reinforced up here and within my action. So just expressing gratitude and affirming myself on here, I think is something that I've been trying to do. Expressing gratitude for you for having me and having this conversation with me, because at the same time, it's been beautiful. We've been in great grand stride, but this is such a benefit and a plus to me. And getting my creative zest and my zeal and my juices flowing so I can make that concrete within every facet of my life. So I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you and your platform. And yeah, that's all I have to say to that.
Thanks for saying that, man. That's very kind of you. I had two closing thoughts, and it's related to that actually.
Yeah.
The first one is when Moses and the people, when they hit the sea and the Pharaoh's armies behind them, all the people are freaking out. Like, Moses, where's your God now, man? We're gonna die. And he turns to them and he says, be grateful.
Mm,
And it doesn't sound like the logical thing to say to people that are
yeah.
panicking and rushing and freaking out. But in the Muslim tradition, we believe that when you're grateful, God increases you. And that's
Yeah.
the moment where the sea splits. And so I think that that's like just that story, it always reminds me of how valuable gratitude is.
Yeah.
And then the second closing thought I had is also related to something we've been talking about, which is rushing. There's a story where when Moses, when he punches the guard, he kills him. Um, he feels really guilty and saddened by it. He's like, man, I did something wrong. And when the prophet, peace be upon him, was telling this to the companions, they were confused, like, well, why did he feel that way? And the prophet, peace be upon him, responded by saying, it's because rushing comes from the devil. And Moses rushed into that scene. He didn't take the time to discern what was going on. He just took action. And so I just think that's another beautiful story because that thing, it just kind of calms me down. It's like, yeah, if
Yeah,
I'm rushing, I know that I'm likely doing something wrong.
right. Out of
Yeah.
alignment. Yeah. Thank you.
Out of
Yeah.
alignment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Way to put it.
Perfect.
But
Yeah.
yeah, this has been a cool conversation, man. Thank you again
Likewise.
for being here.
Thank you for
It's
having me.
crazy that the last time I saw you in the flesh was Ramadan 2023. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. You're still in Houston?
Yeah, and you are too, eh?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we need to get lunch or something one day.
Yeah, we'll do
Okay,
it.
yeah. I'll hit you. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. I suppose until next time, eh?
Okay, yes, sir. Peace.